Hey everyone. Um, I was getting a lot of questions about heavier deep water hair jigs, so that's what we're going to do today. A larger type bucktail. The striper guys are very familiar with these, but this is what we're going to look at. This is a 5/8, or this is one's a half ounce. This is a half-ounce hair jig. It's tied with gray and brown bucktail, and I drew a little swim bait on the back of here. You can throw a grub, double tail grub, whatever you want for a trailer. Fish D's about 10 to 15 feet deep. It gives the fish a different look, something that they're not used to seeing. So let's get started. What we're going to do is get our jig head here, half ounce, 5/8 ounce. I rarely go to 3/4 with these. Okay, now we got our jig in place. First thing I'm going to do is take some, we're going to use brown. This is a gray and a brown jig, so I'm going to use some brown 210 denier flat wax nylon, which is the norm. Get our little tag end off. You want to get a decent buildup. That'll keep your thread. When you get a good buildup with nice thread base down, it'll keep your hair from spinning, which happens quite frequently. So now, first one I'm going to put on is the gray bucktail. Nice hunk. And measure it. And this is one I'm going to want about an inch and a half behind. It's a larger jig. I want a larger tail. That looks about right. So trim it up. And you build these as you go along. Don't add too much at one time. Add a little bit at a time and see how you like it. Sometimes less is more with these. That looks pretty good. A couple securing wraps, cinch it down. Now if you take notice, on this jig you'll see this little ball here at the end of the collar. The closer you tied it at and tight, if you will flare this hair, it'll get really flared out. I make several jigs. Some of them I flare, some of them I won't. I won't go too close to the collar, so it stays a little bit flatter. The difference is what you're going to do with it. If you want a jig that has a lot of action and you want it to pulsate in the water, you're going to want it flared. And as it falls, the water will compress it, and when it hits, it'll spread out. If you want something a little more subtle, you tie back further from the end of your collar, and you won't get it to flare so much. So now I want to add just a little bit more gray here. There's not quite enough on the side, so I'll just take my gray bucktail here. And the thing with bucktail is always cut to the hide. Even if you're tying a small jig, just cut to the hide end of it, because the end of the hair is where all your action is. If you cut just a half an inch of the hair off, the rest of it's going to be pretty much unusable anyway. Just because you cut the tips off already. So always cut to from the bottom. I guess next to the hide is what you would call that. Two, three securing wraps. Get that where I want it. And cinch down. Now we're going to add our second color, the brown. This is going to be more like an accent color. Block some of this light. You can see that there's brown on the top of this head. We're going to take our brown bucktail, and to save time I already cut a couple hunks off. Now this is taken from the bottom of the bucktail, so it's a little stiffer. I want it that way when it's going on the top, because this isn't going to have as much. I'm going to put a little bit less of this color in, so I want it to have a little bit more flare, but I still don't want to tie all the way back to the collar, because I want this gray bucktail to lay a little flat. So I'll take the brown hair from the back of the bucktail. See where I'm at, measure, and trim it up. I know I probably confused you more, but yeah, when you take your hair off the bucktail, the bottom of, you'll notice that the bottom part of the bucktail is very coarse and the hairs are long, and the further up you go, the softer the hair gets. Well, certain circumstances you'll want that coarser hair. Now, get it once I got my hair where I want it. Looks pretty good, actually. We'll secure it. Now I have that in, I'm going to get some wraps all around here to clean it up, make a nice even collar. And before I finish it, what I'm going to do is take some, this is gray UV crystal flash. So when the light hits it, it'll be more of a purple color. Just because it reflects the UV light. It's pretty neat. I'm starting to really like the UV materials. I have a lot of faith in them, and if you have confidence, that's the #1 thing with this fishing stuff. Confidence. If you don't have confidence in the bait you're throwing and the color you're using, it becomes difficult to catch fish. Now I got my crystal flash in, hairs in. I'll add one more little piece of flash on each side. And again, like I said, I do it with one piece of flash. I tie it in and then fold it over to get the next piece. Really tough, hard to pull out. I said it before. Now I'm going to really cinch down here, give it a few more wraps, just to make sure my collar is as bulky as I want it. And now we whip finish. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you notice I went 8 on this. It's a bigger collar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Trim. And there you have it. Now, of course, later on what I'll do is I'll mix some epoxy. I'll put the epoxy on the threads and I'll epoxy in a weed guard on this particular model. But when you do it, make sure your hair is even then. Pull out your fines. And there you have it. This is a simple hair jig on a half-ounce head. Now you can add your big grub, your swim bait, however you want to work this. And it's surprisingly effective. Don't let just the guys that fish stripers will tell you they like the big bucktails. Well, they work just as good for largemouth, especially this time of the year. Give it a try. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.